We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody this morning, and if you could, please rise and we'll take a moment of reflection before we get down to the business. Amen. Thank you. At this time, I would ask, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof from any of the members? Seeing none, if it does arise, it can be declared at any time. We do have regrets, of course, from Councillor Lawrence, and Councillor Thompson is not available today. Closed session, Mark. I don't believe we have any closed session matters at this point in time. Comment period. At this point, we have on the agenda a comment period for the public to address any issues that are specific to the agenda business. Is there any comments? Ms. Radcliffe. Marion? Could you use them? Yeah, please. Gray button. Whoa. No, not quite. There you go.
I hit it too fast. Hi, Marion Ratcliffe. My comment regards the bylaw regarding Phil, and yes, it is my hope that today Council does pass this bylaw. I think it's very important. As someone who's currently being affected by this, I look at the damage to, I see the mess on the roads, needing to be cleaned, potential damage, the noise, and my own personal concern for my water safety. I do believe that people have a right to do things on their property, but I think that there should be concern for neighbors and the community as well in interactions. So that's all. Just please, I am in favor of this.
Okay. Thank you very much, Marion. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. Then we will move on. Public meetings, Mark. I don't believe we have any. Consent agenda items. I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by R. Herget. Be it resolved that items A1 to B1, inclusive, contained in Part 1 consent agenda, be adopted as amended. And further, that authorization be given for actions to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. The one slight amendment was that on the October 15th, 2018 minutes, it was posted that this meeting was at 7 p.m. and Mark wanted me to change that to 10 a.m. There may not be many lights on in the chambers at 7 p.m. So that was the amendment, was just to change it to 10 a.m. Any comments on the consent? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. There you are, Mark. I ask you to hand out those resolutions to give effect. Communications from Mayor and Council. Do we have any council members that have any communications? Rebecca, please.
So this last week, Grey Bruce Public Health has come out with a radon testing kit, and you can go online and find the location, register for the kit. They'll mail it to you. You have 3 months of testing. You send in the test kit to the lab, and then the results come back. Last year, we had discussed a bylaw of the offing of the radon gas, and we contemplated putting that change into our building department, and we did not do that at that time. But it is important to gather this information, so I encourage everyone, especially if you're using a lower level of the house to live in, or if you've recently renovated or so on, you should do the testing, and that information would come back as results to yourself personally and to the public health department. Just wanted to thank the Normanby Rec They had a wonderful haunted house of Aytenstein, and it was really well attended. I think there were about 200 kids that came through, and it really energized Ayton on Halloween night, so that was really fun. Also, congratulations to the Newstat Rec Committee. They had a wonderful, well-attended craft show this last weekend. And also, there's some new businesses in Newstat, so I encourage everyone to go check those out. Newstat was really buzzing this weekend with the craft show and the new businesses and so on. So if everyone can go check it out and see what's new in the neighborhood, that'd be great. Just a reminder, roller skating on Friday night in Newstat, and then ice skating, public skating on Saturday in Ayton. Also coming up is the Ayton Lioness Curiosity Shop, which is November 17th, and hold that date for Ayton because that's a big full day in Ayton. There's the Curiosity Shop, Santa Claus is coming, lighting of the Christmas tree, chili cook-off. Anyway, you can look at Facebook, What's Up Ayton page. I encourage everybody to like that page and keep up on the information for Ayton.
Thank you, Rebecca. Anyone else? Anything over the weekend? Councillor Cuddick. Bev?
Well, I just wanted to...
That microphone still works.
I wanted
Thanks.
to... Does it? I wanted to bring attention to the Durham District Food Bank letter that was in the correspondence. They are thanking the Parks Committee and the volunteers who helped to plant and maintain and harvest and deliver all the groceries that were sent to the food bank, fresh groceries like zucchini, cucumbers, kale, tomatoes, peppers, beans, squash, onions, eggplant, and Swiss chard. Approximately $835 of produce was delivered to them, and they said that we very much appreciate having fresh vegetables as a healthy alternative to processed items because mostly they get canned goods and box goods. So they were very happy with that. And it's signed from the Durham District Food Bank members and the Secretary, Lynn Burnett. My concern with that is that since there is no Parks Committee as of the end of this term, I wonder who's going to actually take that on and you know, harvest it, plant it, harvest it, and do the deliveries to the food bank, since that's what it's for.
Sure.
Okay, Laura?
Thank you,
please.
Mayor Eccles, and to Councillor Cutting. There is no single Parks Committee envisioned for 2019 for the next term of council, but the Parks and Recreation Committees are going to have a wider mandate, and we're expecting that all of these projects will fall into the hands of maybe more volunteers than the 4 that have been working crazily hard over this past term. So we've got the call out there. We'll see where we land. But yes, you're right. These are projects that we want to capture in the new model of the committees.
And when did the call go out for volunteers?
Through you, Mayor Eccles, the ad is in Spotlight. It was for the November issue, and it's going in the newspapers this week.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could, it closes at the end of the month?
Correct.
Okay, Bev? Yep, good, thanks. Anyone else? Would just like to take this time to say on Saturday night, I had the privilege of being at the Words Aloud Poetry Festival. Usually, for the last 14 years, the opening night is on the Friday night at the Durham Art Gallery. This year, it was on Saturday night at the Durham Art Gallery because the opening was in Owen Sound. They're continuing to expand the breadth of Words Aloud. So they were in Owen Sound. The Owen Sound Library Board has really come on board and is helping them out. So very well attended again. The gallery was packed. One poet reading from Montreal, Tanya, and another poet from Toronto, and the main featured poet, Kat, is also from Toronto. Tremendous literary performances, and to have that type of talent in our area. If you do get a chance for Words Aloud 16, it's always the first weekend in November. Get out and be inspired. Did get to the craft show on Saturday, very well attended. Also, Remembrance Day memorials have started Sunday. Holstein Cenotaph. Have attended that one for the past number of years. It was on Sunday, and I'd just like to say that the Legion Branch 308 will be this Sunday at the Durham Cenotaph, 11 o'clock, Jackie, marshalling at the Legion prior to that, 10:30. Thank you. To get out for that time of the year. One other thing that happened this past week, our economic development officers from Hanover, Brockton, North Wellington, and Minto had the opportunity to host a bus tour of newcomer entrepreneurs. 27, 28 entrepreneurs, newcomers to Canada. Was introduced. They had a lunch at the launch pad put on by the kitchen at the launch pad. So we're able to meet them there and welcome them to West Grey. They toured through. The economic development officers have a lot of businesses that are looking at succession planning or the opportunities of what is here to start a business. And there's more of that push to, and these individuals were really keen on getting out of the large urban centers and making their businesses in more of a rural area. Met an individual, a veterinarian from Iraq, another young entrepreneur, lady from Bulgaria. Just a huge breadth of individuals from across the world as they've came here and are looking. One of the interesting things was that the gentleman from Iraq had said, you know, we immigrants end up in the large urban centers in North America, but we've came from rural, and it's difficult for us to get that understanding of how to get out here. So they were very appreciative of the ability to be able to make some connections and get where they feel a lot more comfortable. In Iraq, 75%, 75 to 80% of the population is rural. They're not urban, where when you're looking in North America, Ontario, 85% of our population is urban. So that's kind of where they end up, but it's not where their comfort level is. So we're doing a lot more to get them back into rural Ontario. So look forward to some help in helping those individuals realize their dreams here in our communities in Wellington, Bruce, Grey. So, Rebecca?
One other thing. Last but certainly not least, this last week I attended a mess dinner. It was for the Hanover 812 Squadron of the Air Cadets, but our police chief, Martin, was able to present and give the keynote address. Many of these little Air Cadet kids come from West Grey, and they have been involved in roadside cleanups lately, and they're using our municipal asset of the airport. So it was really a good address by our police chief, and well received by all the cadets too.
Yes, thank you for getting there and representing the municipality, and to Chief Martin. I had other commitments, couldn't get there, so appreciate that. Sometimes it would be nice to be, you know, have 3 or 4 different personalities, but 3 or 4 different bodies so you can get to all those functions. But thank you for representing. Thanks for everybody else on council that's represented at different functions. Okay, anything else? Delegations. I don't believe we have any delegations on here. Business arising from the previous meeting. Then I guess we're down to staff reports. And the first one is Carrie's report, starting on page 40. Tell me I'm close to being right there, Carrie. There we are. Carrie's report, and the first one is the committee of the whole transfer to the public reserves. And do we have a motion for that, Mark? Oh. No, that one's the voucher. That one's the budget.
Just the voucher, really. Voucher.
Oh, there we are. Sorry, I was looking at your report from the Council Committee of the Whole. My mistake. The voucher is carries, and it's voucher number 20. Have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by R. Herger. Be resolved that Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 20, 2018, in the amount of $735,096.60 of the Municipality of West Grey. Any comments? Doug?
Questions?
Comments, questions?
Okay.
Sure, same thing. You say tomato, I say tomato.
Just a couple questions, and maybe geared more to Brent than Carrie. The first one, anyways. Green Propeller on page 2, Green Propeller Site Street costs. Can you refresh my memory on that, Brent? That's not part of our street scan costs, which, you know, looks at all our... What is the Green Propeller cost there, page 2?
I don't think that's Brent's at all.
Oh, it's not Brent's? Okay.
Do you want me to comment
Street
on it?
site analysis and concept plan, $2,825.
That's relating to.
Do you know?
I think that was relating to the siting for the new police station,
Oh, okay.
right? Green
Okay.
Propeller was doing some consulting work for us as size,
Okay.
capacity, what we needed.
All right.
Okay.
I remember that now.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, forgot about that.
Yep, no problem.
The other one was the Gunnell Hall, page 53, page 12 in your report, Carrie. We did a UV system there, and I know at one point they took some of the facilities out there that they could use, that they couldn't use the water because of issues, but I didn't realize that we were putting a UV system in there. So now it should be fully usable. Is that the intent there now?
Brent?
There was never, Councillor Hutchinson, just to be clear, there was never anything wrong with the water, but because it's a public facility, we had to put UV system in place
Okay.
for that facility.
Right. Well, I
Okay,
know we
To
that's-
do the treatment,
Right.
Yeah,
yeah,
Okay.
to keep it open.
but that's, you know,
All right. I didn't realize that we were going ahead with that because I knew we had shut it down in terms of the use of the water, but I didn't realize that we were going ahead with putting the UV system in, but that's fine. It's in there now and working.
actually,
Yeah.
that was, if I can comment on that, and it's my tardiness on it, I was a little late getting it in, but that was approved by council at some time ago, earlier on this year.
Okay. I forgot
Way
that.
back in February, March, I think it was approved to have that work
Yeah,
completed.
it was in the budget.
Okay. All right. And then one other question, page 68, page 26 in yours, Carrie, is there was 8 in Centennial Hall. There was a couple charges there for hydro, I think it was. And I just wondered, there was 2 different ones. Let's see if we can find my spot here now. Page 68, I think I said.
There is a separate meter for the appliances at the 8 and Centennial.
That's probably what it was.
There's a
Yeah, I
split.
wondered why
There's
that
two
was.
separate meters there,
Yeah,
one
so
for,
there's 2 bills.
Okay, that's what it was, yeah, because one was Centennial Hall Hydro and the other was Centennial Hall and, yeah, APPL, so I wondered. So why did they separate it?
that's something that Normanby had done years ago. They've always had two. I think they used to perhaps charge separately for kitchen usage and appliances usage in there, but it's always had 2 meters on that building.
Okay, thought that was unusual, but all right, I understand that, thank you.
It's a little different, but each municipal facility has its own unique little nuances.
Just hoping they weren't double dipping us, that's all.
Ontario Hydro 1? The audacity of that statement, Doug. Go ahead, Carrie.
And Brent just reminded me, it used to be heated with electric heat, so that's why they would have back in the day put 2 meters on it. We have since over the years put a geothermal system in there, but the 2 meters have remained, but that was the original.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, Rebecca?
Yeah,
Councillor
so
Berger.
on the UV installation, the same one Councillor Hutchison was speaking about, there's an HST portion that we're paying, but we will receive that back, right? Okay. Do we typically, just a portion of it back is what we receive?
87% or
Okay.
recreation stuff, it's 100%, if I'm not correct on that, Carrie? Yeah.
So I guess to Brent's comment there just a minute ago, will we be putting in UV lights in other locations too, such as maybe Ayton Library or here at this building? I don't know if there is one even maybe here.
The council approved doing the Normanby shed as well. We do have an issue with the water there. It's not that it's dangerous, but it is discolored, and we do have IWA stations at that facility, so we are going to be putting in a filtering system. It was more important to get the Glenelg Hall completed first, but we are going to be completing that installation in Normanby as well.
Okay. Next question or comment is street scan, and I'm quite familiar with it, but $37,894. Would you be able to explain a bit of the scope of that to the public, really? Because I understand it, but it is a big cost.
So there was two large payments issued. I think the one was approved a few months ago. This is I believe it's the last statement. I am actually just completed the application for the FCM rebatable portion of the project, so we're going to get back most of that money once I get the application sent in. And I just completed it actually this morning, so I'm hoping to have it that I can send it out and we'll receive the money in short time.
Can you just explain what street scan is for everybody?
Okay, so
Just very
street scan as part of the asset management, Federal Communities, Federation of Canadian Municipalities had a funding up to $50 million that was allocated to municipalities all across Canada. More specifically, geared to asset management, and I saw the opportunity that we could advance our asset management plan in West Grey. We were lacking a little bit, and I needed that valued information to move forward, especially in roads. So what they did was they went out and evaluated our roads using very comprehensive technology vehicle that uses scanning, photography, radar system that measured wheel ruts, cracks, pavement deformations, and they were able to put it together and use a software that was able to derive what they call as a pavement condition indice. And that's a very important factor in determining how good the road is. And they were able to complete that, and I have a bunch of information that I'm still digesting right now and putting it together. So it sets what it does. It enables me to use different funding modules, different planning 5-year, 10-year, 15-year capital plans, and looking at the value of the money that's required to set those parameters, and taking an average PCI. For example, the municipality of West Grey scored approximately 67, or it was a score of 67 out of 100, which seems like a reasonable number. The provincial average is 72, but based on what they showed is based on our current costing. They showed that within 5 to 10 years that our pavement structure is going to deteriorate. So I have some work to do to figure out where we have to get to maintain where we're at, and including the budget numbers too. So.
Okay, thanks, Mark, or Brent. Any other questions on the accounts? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next one is the November budget meetings. I have a motion moved by John A. Bell, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby cancels the November 13, 14, 2018 Committee of the Whole 2019 preliminary budget meetings. Any questions or comments on this? I think it was pretty well explained. Doug?
So we aren't setting dates at this time, Carrie, for those
Once
budget
the new
meeting.
council takes office, then we will schedule, see what their calendars are like, hopefully schedule a December meeting. I'm still compiling all of the departmental budgets so that I'll have a consolidated version that we can present and start off with. But till the new council takes office, we won't know what they're...
Right. So the hope is that maybe we can get started in December?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Departments are still working away at their budgets, and I should have a fully consolidated one for a December meeting.
Okay. Any further comments or questions on the recommendation? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Elmwood Community Center renovations project. Carrie, they've given the chair, Dale Aarons, and the chair of the building, Ernie Faulkner. Thank you. Yeah, I was getting stuck on the Faulkner part. Ernie, in consultation, I guess I sit on the board, in consultation with the contractor, and it's always on that Farmers Week that's the 1st of January, and they could have maybe, but it was going to be a little bit tight, and Dom Construction, local company, has the contract to do that. They were quite happy with the idea of getting through Farmers Week, which has been done for 20 plus years. They thought they could get through with the kitchen, and then there was a couple of, I think, Christmas parties or different functions that they were going to have to work around, but they have from Farmers Week through till I think the 1st of March, they have cleared any bookings, so it'll be clear sailing for DOMS to get that work done, so they've postponed that just for a couple of months. So just giving us notice of that. Anything else on that information? Council remuneration, Carrie, is there. Just information, and the third quarter mileage reimbursement rate connected to the county formula, and it hasn't changed. Any other questions on any of that information from Carrie? Any questions you had, comments, Carrie? You will have one.
Just for those who don't have their timesheets in, if they could submit those for October.
Some already have been submitted. Okay. That's it, Carrie. Thanks very much for coming in. That puts us down to Brent's report. And that is on page 72. There we are. Okay, Brent, any further updates, comments on the recommendation that came from Committee of the Whole to go ahead with the cover shed enclosure at the Bendig landfill for equipment?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Actually, Steve Earhart was able to find enough roofing steel located on some of our lands that we could utilize towards the cost of the building. So I'm going to recycle that roofing steel and use it for that structure. So that's going to save us again a few dollars there. So we're gonna do it very, very cheaply. Not going to put a large amount into it. And again,
Very cost effective.
Very cost effective, yes, Your Worship.
Okay. All right. I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the transfer of up to $10,000 from the landfill reserves to facilitate the construction of a small shed to house the landfill compactor. Do you want to add into that at the Bentig landfill? Just to Bev, John? Sure. Okay. Just so that there's clarity where it is. At the Bentig landfill. Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Hergen. Rebecca?
So we're hoping that the steel will be enough for the roof, or are we still anticipating purchasing some?
No, there's enough roofing steel, but we'll have to buy some siding steel for the structure.
Okay.
All right. It's just going to be a pole shed, flat roof,
Three-sided?
three-sided, no doors. No.
Okay. Any further questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Brent? No? Great.
That wasn't very nice, was it?
Is it that brings us down to bylaws, Mark, or? Well, I can see yours is in consent. Where's your report? It says consent agenda.
Oh, sorry.
No, we're down to Mark's report on page 74. And the Committee of the Whole meetings on November the 12th, 26th. Mark, any comments on that?
Sure. Just again, given the pending change in the council composition and actually even the committees that will change in the next month or so, or in the 2 months, I just was looking for some direction whether or not council felt it appropriate to cancel the 2 Committee of the Whole meetings. I just wasn't sure how constructive they would be given these pending changes.
Any comments? The November the 12th would be committee. I'm not sure that many of them are even meeting. We will still have the planning committee of the whole at 1. There's some of those. So that's not what we're commenting here. It's just that the committees, recreation and whatnot. And then, of course, the committee of the whole meeting on the 26th. Week before the inaugural. So, the idea is, you want to go that way? Go that way. See what we got. On canceling those. Doug?
Just a comment or question for Brent, I guess. So, I guess being that it'll be a little while before we have a council meeting, there's nothing, you foresee anything pressing that might come up, Brent, in the meantime before our next council? Like the construction should be wrapped up in the near future, and there shouldn't be a lot of decisions to be made.
No, I'm not coming forward with any more recommendations.
Yeah.
Everything that's happening right now was already pre-approved by council.
Yeah.
So we're just, actually the last project, of course, is the construction currently happening downtown here. So
yeah. Okay.
Need to pray for good weather.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, thank you.
Well, just looking outside, should do a little bit more praying because they haven't been answered for today, Brent. I believe that we had scheduled to start the curb work, some of that curb work on the Lambton one today, but we'll get there. Don't worry about it. It'll get there. Okay, I have a motion moved by R. Herget, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby cancels the November 12th and 26th, 2018 Committee of the Whole meetings. And just for absolute clarity, that is the committee meetings, not the November 12th Committee of the Whole Planning and Committee of Adjustment meetings. Correct, Mark? Good. And they start at 1. Yeah. Okay. Any further questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Next one up, Mark, is a proposed change to the inaugural council in our procedural bylaw.
Yeah.
Speak to that, Mark?
Yeah, as noted in my report, Mayor-elect Robinson had made a request to change the inaugural meeting date from December 3rd to December 1st. After that was, my report was completed and put in the agenda and was circulated Thursday, Mayor-elect Robinson gave me a call Friday morning. We had a good conversation. We spoke about some of the transitional issues between the existing council and the new council, and some of the issues relating to perhaps changing that to December 1st. So after that conversation, we concluded that it was perhaps best to stay with the December 3rd inaugural session, and Mayor-elect Robinson has sent an email requesting withdrawal of her request. So I just asked this be received for information.
Any further comments or questions on that? December 1st would have been a Saturday, Mark? Okay. It would have required overtime, but good. Clarity has been sought, and we'll stay with the way it was scheduled then. All right, leave it at that.
That's it for me.
That's it, Mark? No other questions? Then I guess we're down to a bylaw. If I'm not mistaken, there's two of them, of course. One on the fill bylaw, and the second one just on the confirming. Okay, bylaw number 120. Excuse me. Bylaw dealing with, excuse me again, fill being deposited into the municipality. I have a motion moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 120, 2018, being a bylaw to prohibit and regulate the placing or dumping of fill, the removal of topsoil, and the alteration of the grades of land within the municipality of West Grey, be now read a third time, as amended, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this bylaw? Councillor Hergen.
Okay, so I've read this bylaw several times, and I appreciate Brent bringing it, a couple different drafts of this bylaw forward. I actually feel that when we reached out to the Ministry of Environment, and within the 10-day timeline that we were provided with confirmation that the soil was fine and it had already been tested, I feel that that's sufficient. The provincial body already has legislation to deal with this. There are a couple parts of this bylaw that I am completely in favor of. A hauling route, making sure that the roads are clear, and so on. But I'm not in favor of the extent that this bylaw goes. I think it's actually jumping at the provincial Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks mandate to review what type of fill that is coming. I think this is a good example of the lower tier wanting to have a say in local matters, but not balancing the time and resources required to properly enforce and service this bylaw. I presume that the Public Works will be in charge of permitting and review of the same, but I would ask that our next council be prepared to have our bylaw enforcement officer give more time and attention to this. We've not budgeted for any of that this year because we're just considering this, but I think if in the future it may be important to have the resources allocated to actually service the bylaw. I mean, they're filling right next door, and it's been going on for several years just to the east of here. We had a bit of a conversation earlier about, well, it's been going on for several years, and maybe 2 loads will come in at this time, and next year will be 2 more loads. But that just really drags out the permitting and renewal process. So I hope we have the endurance to enforce this as well. Pardon me. I was curious if, I know this wording doesn't address any previous filled or altered areas, but, caution again that there have been areas that have been filled and so on. I mean, that's a potential extension further of this same bylaw. I just make sure the next council gives it the time and attention to enforce, and And I guess, we can always change it or whatever, but as it is right now, I'm not in favor of it. I think that the Ministry of Environment did a good job within the 10 days and got us the information back. And I won't be supporting this bylaw as it is.
Any further comments? Doug? Go ahead, Councillor Hutchison.
Well, I agree in some parts, but I disagree with others. I think it is something we do need to have. I think it protects us and our citizens from things happening that we don't have any control or any input on. I think it's important that we know if there's numerous number of loads of fill coming into our area that we know where it's going and know what kind of fill it is, and that's where the environment comes into to determine that the fill is acceptable. But obviously, we need to know more than just that. I think it's just one more checks and balance that we have in order to keep control of what comes into our municipality. So yes, there's going to be some enforcement involved. There's going to be work from our clerk's end of it in terms of the permits coming in and whatnot. But I think it is important, and I think it's something we need to have. Other municipalities around us have it, and I don't think it's we're going out on a limb at all.
Thank you. Anything else? Bev?
Well, I agree with Marion. I think this is more for the control for the neighbors, because it establishes haul routes, it establishes work hours, it establishes that they can't dump on Saturday and Sundays, it establishes a number that the fill has been tested before it gets dumped. We're not being reactionary. We're allowing it to, or we're asking that it be actually done as part of the permitting process. I think it's very good. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but it can be amended, but I think it's a very good start, and I think it's necessary for, especially when it's saying things like only 50 trucks, 50 trucks allowed in a day. Like, you could have hundreds of trucks coming in the day if we didn't have some kind of legislation to allow. And also the fact that those trucks were sitting on the roads, blocking traffic and things like that and leaving a mess. I think this is what will stop that. So I agree.
Any other comments from council? I just wanted one other comment. As I said prior, I believe it was at the committee as a whole, because it's on, this is in our rural areas, and dealing with one of the agencies, the Federation of Agriculture, local, are very much in support of this, it has the freedom for a farmer to do what he needs to do on his land, but they are supportive of this bylaw as well too, that it allows agriculture to continue on in that aspect and doesn't harm them, and they are supportive of it as well too. I'll just say that. Okay. Any other questions, Doug?
Further comment.
Last comment.
Yeah, I just think that in here where we're actually asking for a sum of money up front for road damage and that type of thing, I think that's important, because otherwise, if we just leave it to the ministry, then we're chasing people that come into the area and do this, and then we find out, that it's there is some damage, then we have to chase them to get monies. I think this is good to have money up front so we know what's going on. And the other thing that we're actually in here is a bit of a levy, so there actually creates a little bit of income for the municipality, especially when you look at, as I mentioned before, that we have numerous number of landfill or gravel pits that someday may become looked at by outside the municipality as a place to dump things, whether it's fill or something else, I don't know, but it might be opportunity to bring in some money for our municipality. So I think it's important that we've covered our bases there.
Okay. Second and last comment, Councillor Herget.
I just think we increased the cost of doing business in West Grey. Just to your comment, Doug, about aggregate leaving with a fee on it, and now if you're bringing fill back in, there's a fee on it. So we're catching them coming and going. I just think we increased the cost of doing business in West Grey.
I guess my comment on that, if council will allow, is it's not a fee on doing the business. It's cost to covering off and protecting the ratepayers who have put not pavement on all roads, some of them are still gravel out there, that the protection of that for doing business, that they are covered, Brent and the Public Works are covered for any of the damages that are done by these companies coming in. We have that. It's not a cost against them. It's a cost or certain fees to cover any damages that are done, whether the fill is leaving, as in virgin gravel, or coming back in as fill from other areas. So in my mind, it's not a cost, it's a cost of doing business to be bore on the back of the business, not on the ratepayers of West Grey. I'll leave it at that. Okay, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. Next one is the confirming bylaw. I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by R. Herget. Be resolved that bylaw number 122, 2018, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the November 5th, 2018 council meeting, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any comments on this? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. That's it for bylaws, Mark. Yes, very good. New business. Addendums. Notice of motion or direct motion. Don't believe we have any. Wasn't aware of any. Closed session. Question period. Does anyone in the audience have a question on anything that was on the agenda? Mr. Miller. Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was not going to say anything this morning, but your fill bylaw, I got a couple of questions that I'm wondering about. We're talking about fill coming into the municipality and charging. So this past summer, as an example, there are many loads of fill came from the new location of the high school in Hanover. Some went to a fill up a pond or a hole, a little spot in the field. Some went to the landfill sites. Would you charge for that, or how would that work? Would they have to have a permit to haul it from Hanover to the landfill site?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering that, you know, it's one, well, Board of Education, I guess, but, and also, we must not forget that there was many loads of fill went across the road here, and they're still I guess they're still bringing some in next door down here too, somebody.
Small amounts, yes.
Well,
but in the bylaw, you'll read that it's 250 cubic meters.
Oh, I didn't read.
Does not need that,
oh,
but
okay.
It's on these large.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Bob. Marion. Ms. Ratcliffe.
My question is whether or not this is going to affect any ongoing current events.
Brent?
I would approach the landowner and the contractor working on behalf of the landowner, and I would probably want some securities. I would want the insurance, I'd want the deposit, yes. So I would want something, I know it's been ongoing. What's been done in the past is we have no control over, but moving forward, I would suggest that there would be, we would enact the bylaw. So yes, I would.
Thanks, Brent. That'll be the interpretation of the operations of it. Yep. Okay. Any other questions? Then let's move on. No municipal act notices, Mark? Adjournment? Motion moved by Councillor Herget, seconded by Councillor Deputy Mayor Bell. All those in favor? Carried. We stand adjourned. You're an hour behind last time. You're an hour ahead this time. You've gained it up, Mark. Okay, fine. You're good. Thank you for everybody coming out. Yeah, and it was the time change. That's got to be what the difference was, Mark.